Welcome, dear time travellers. This is the Geek Ground Summary, and I'm Eric Gallagher. This is my first hour with Hellpoint on PlayStation 4. It's a Dark Souls-esque game that kind of reminds me of Event Horizon meets Prometheus. So, so here we go. Okay, so I had to go through all the settings as always when I start a game, and yeah, kind of mess around a little bit with the look inversion for a while. The first thing I do is really just check all the settings. I rarely actually change anything except for the look inversion. And yeah, I can never come up with a name. It takes me a while to figure out what the hell I'm actually going to call myself in one of these games, you know. Sometimes it's Rick, sometimes it's Van Burris. It depends. I'm terrible for coming up with names though. I have to say, I loved the music at the start here. It's just really ominous, and just the space station around the singularity here is just kind of cool. If you listen to it, it's just all doom, and it's punctuating, you know. This opening scene though was kind of strange as well. It reminded me of some of the early disembodied voice scenes in Shadow of the Colossus, where you're getting your instructions from that disembodied voice. So if you have a listen, this guy is kind of like that. Here again, this random, you know, we built this space station next to a black hole, and they didn't think we could do it, but we could, and it doesn't really quite make sense, but yeah. I mean, you can see the dead bodies littering the floor here, and it's got a Souls feel to it, definitely. I mean, the use of the colours here, the creepy red kind of incubation pod things, it's really... You're going to see a lot of kind of HR Geiger kind of things here. Like right now, you don't get a character creation in the game. You're just kind of made by this kind of goopy stuff here. And it reminded me of the black ooze in Prometheus, you know, the ooze that comes out of the canister and kind of causes the first aliens to kind of happen. And yeah, I mean, your character kind of looks a little bit like one of the architects. It's kind of this exoskeleton, bald, kind of humanoid template creature progenitor thing. And yeah, so that's what you're working with, what you're looking at the start. So there's no customization, which in one way is a little disappointing, and in another way it's a relief, because like picking a name, customizing a character takes forever. So here's our disembodied voice telling us to move forward and telling us where we need to go and what we need to do. It's fairly vague. We're not getting a lot of story here, and it's the usual kind of you know, choose your own path, kind of piece the lore together piece by piece kind of stuff going on. I wish I'd known a lot of different things about this game in my first hour that I learned afterwards, but yeah, so I just kind of messed around with the menus for a while and started to figure out where equipment and slots go, and my expectations were set on playing a Souls game. I usually invert my X and Y axis depending on the game. So if it's a first person shooter, I'll usually invert. Third person depends on how it actually feels. So for a while I worked with an inverted camera, but it didn't feel right for this game, so I switched back to the regular controls. So yeah, just getting a look around the area, you know, in case there's any things that, you know, you have to come back for and check hours later. The heads-up display seemed pretty standard. I figured green was my stamina, blue was special powers or MP, and red is your HP, so that's pretty much bog standard. I wish I'd known more about that little circular kind of thing that's beside my health bars and stamina bars and stuff there. Yeah, the left and right trigger buttons are your basic attacks, and I think yeah, at this point I had missed a health station which is down behind me that you need to use to start the game basically, or you're locked in this room forever. So yeah, this is this game's equivalent of the Estus flasks, and it seems you can choose a few different types of healing methods. In the first hour I only encountered this one, so you know it seemed pretty standard. It actually has a Bloodborne kind of mechanic to it, that instead of you getting your healing back when you rest at a waypoint in the game, your charges of this healing item actually recover when you do damage to an enemy. So the more damage you're doing, the more health you're actually recovering. You're not recovering it automatically, you're actually recovering the use of the health item, which is interesting, but it's kind of awkward as well. It's I suppose attacking enemies recharges your health, and I suppose that's useful. I love the aesthetic of the space station though. It's really creepy and quiet, and you can hear the noises in the background, and it's a grim dark future kind of look to it. I found out later on that there's actually a little safe there that collects all your items apparently, but it's looking for an ID number to log in, and I have no idea what that ID number is. Whether I'm going to find it out later on in the game that it was like really something really simple or really obvious or not, but you know. So yeah, just getting used to the controls. Oh yeah, that's one of the things I was surprised that I didn't expect. There is a jump option in this game that isn't available in other Souls-like games. So that's one way of it working at it. There's the usual signposts and messages, like this one here, on jump. And I love this bit. This was brilliant. This was just beautiful. Wasn't expecting it. You're opening up, you're seeing the singularity and basically the end of space, and then suddenly, just out of nowhere, these celestial wails and that music. It's just so ominous but beautiful at the same time. I didn't expect it at all. So still trying to figure out just the controls and where to go and stuff, but it is learning by yourself. Obviously that door is closed, you're not getting through there. So there's a ledge. So another thing I did not notice, and it's a big factor in this game and I didn't realize it, is the vents on the floor. I think it took me a while to figure them out, but standing on them actually changed your character's health or heat. A few beginner tips. This is kind of the tutorial area. I'm surprised it took me so long to actually figure this out, but yeah. So in we go with our standard basic weapon. I think this was a pipe of some kind, and yeah, so basic Souls-like swing weapon. Weight. This is your kind of, this was the kind of waypoint, I suppose. This was your bonfire. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So the singularities here, these kind of work like the bonfires in the Souls games as well. Seem to be used for connecting to online play. Now my first game my experience with online connectivity was quite terrible. I didn't seem to be able to matchmake at all during this playthrough. And I was also fooled by something that I thought was another player attacking me. I'll get to that a little bit later, but it was actually quite interesting. I thought I was beating another live player, and I was, laughing at, my little online victories that I actually wasn't having, which we'll see later on. It's kind of obvious once you figure out what you're actually fighting against. So here's our first fodder enemies. Now, if you played, again, I keep comparing it to a Dark Souls game, but what you've got to say is it's sci-fi Dark Souls. You don't seem to have an attack of opportunity or a backstab when you're attacking these guys from behind. And another thing that's missing, and again, it's my instinct with a Souls-like game, is to try and learn how to parry very early on. And, parrying is a big deal with these types of games. But in this one, parrying is not an option. You've just got your bog standards shield raise. I have to say, I do like this jump. This jump mechanic is a lot better than kind of trying to do that last minute double tap or double click in a Souls game to get across a hole. Now there's that thing up beside my health bar. And again, I hadn't realised what that little orange circle around the health bar means. And if you're playing this game, I'm going to save you a little bit of time now. You've probably looked it up already at this stage. But different events happen on this space station depending on where that circle is. So that circle is kind of like a day cycle. When it reaches that hole there, it's the black hole hour, and certain places become accessible that wouldn't normally be accessible. And when it hits the 2 points either side of the circle, that is the hell hour, I believe, where extra enemies and stronger enemies appear and start attacking and causing havoc. And I wasn't expecting that either. I wasn't quite sure how, because mobs don't respawn when you reach your bonfire or your singularity. It seems that those 2 different points on the clock are when mobs respawn. But yeah, it would be a while before I figured that out. So while I was down here, there is a monster that appears here, and I wasn't expecting it. It'll be a while. I think I'll get killed beforehand, but yeah. I mean, these early enemies don't really put up too much of a fight. And as you can see, it's just literally chop, chop, dead. But I suppose it's luring me into a false sense of security, because again, I'm playing it like I would play a Souls game, except for the one fact that you can't parry. And I haven't tried it. I hadn't tried it at this stage so much, but it's a strange thing that's missing. Yeah, these random collectibles that are lying around the place, they're kind of materials, I figure, for some sort of, upgrade system or weapon system, but I didn't encounter it during this playthrough. And there's a lot of reds and metal and I don't know. It's just this whole place seems just disgusting. Oh, what I call this is just calling a lift. But the first time I played, I thought that alarm was going to, bring in some sort of boss and just wipe me out and, get the whole "you died" screen straight away. And for ages, I was actually linking that alarm to the enemy that appears here and not realizing it's related to the black hole and the timer. At this stage as well, I've actually missed a lot of things I didn't realize I could do. There was areas to climb, and there were special weapons and stuff hidden down there that I didn't know about. But we'll see those in a while. So, oh yeah, I have to see, of course, if I can go up and back down, because in case I missed any hidden exits from the lift or anything like that. But there's nothing there. Which means running back through the ramp and over around the area, just in case I missed anything on the lower level. And I can assure you I've missed a lot on this, but the good old door that doesn't open from this side, yeah. And here we go, it's just to see if I've missed any enemies. I can hear some, but I don't think I encountered any for a while. I went back up the lift. I suppose it can be a little bit tedious climbing up the lift, but what else can you do at the moment really with it, yeah, so I went in deeper into the space station. There's these little waypoints and things around as well. They kind of point you to the next area, so I mean, they're not all that helpful. You kind of get used to the names of the areas after a while. So I think I've gone from the pond, which is your little spawning ground, to the embassy, which is where the game's first boss is waiting for me. And there are many things I wish I knew about that first boss before I fought it. So yeah, onwards into the level, into this corridor up ahead. I think check around the bones in case there's anything hidden in them, but there isn't. And here we go. So we've got some brutish enemies in here waiting for me, but I think I avoided them at first. I think I checked out here. Oh yeah. So up there is the equivalent of our first fog gate as well. I have to say, I love the sci-fi aesthetic though. This kind of cathedral-esque area here is is really cool. There's stained glass windows and things about, and you know. Now, here's an issue. Here's a thing I was not expecting. Enemies with laser weapons. So that's a new element to the game. I wasn't expecting to be shot at and zapped, but I probably should have, considering it's a sci-fi setting. And apparently those weapons will become available to me later on in the game. I checked the stats and the abilities, and it seems there's room for them. But again, in this playthrough, I didn't actually get too far. I've actually deleted the character since and started over. Yeah. So just checking the stats, the usual And again, they seem pretty straightforward, strength and things, so. Oh yeah, the bits and pieces of blueprints for weapons and things I picked up. Again, I didn't find anywhere to actually build or create them, but I just love that window there. It's just really cool looking. And back into this main corridor where we saw our fog gate earlier. And yeah, I think the Black Knights and the White Knights are in this area, or the space equivalent of them. So, first boss area. Pretty standard looking. And get the usual warnings, you know, if you go in here you'll die and all. I thought these were similar to ones left by players, but it seems no, to actually leave a player one you need a vertical wall or a pillar to actually leave a mark on, which was kind of awkward. And I went through the emotes and I tried for some online play here for a while, and I spent absolutely ages trying to leave a mark and it wouldn't allow me to. And this is my tip to you. If you want to leave a handprint which will allow other players to join your game, you have to be up against a wall, and you have to be facing a wall or a pillar, and it may leave a handprint. It took absolutely ages for me to leave a marker for another player. Nobody accepted it, but okay. So this boss, it's going to kill me pretty quickly because I've underestimated how this boss works. So that little meter there building up just above my health bar is actually a frost meter, and I didn't know this at the time. Now the problem is, when you get close to this boss, it's actually freezing you. You can see I'm starting to crystallize here, and I didn't realize this. I didn't know that this was happening, that this boss is actually chilling me. And that's why I'm getting so slow, and that's why I'm not able to dodge so well, and I didn't know what that meant. And there's no indication that this is a mechanic in the game, but I am figuring it out. And yeah, so there's me dead. You know, spawn deceased is the you died of this game. What we're looking at there is basically, it's been freeze me and I'm getting close to it and it freezes you, and that's where the vents I was telling you about earlier come into play. The vents in the ground either side there, any red vents on the ground, actually warm you up, so the meter starts to go red. So the trick there is actually, if you start to freeze up, to get some distance between you and the boss, and to actually heat up on the vents on the ground. So you kind of got to go around and raise your temperature to avoid freezing up around them. At the time of recording this, I still haven't beaten that boss, so that says a lot, though I haven't really played the game much since. I think the next time I play, I'll probably have a better understanding of how to beat him. I thought I was dead there when I fell down, and quite lucky I wasn't, and at least I'll find some extra things down here now. I love all these little kind of pillars and cores and lights and stuff that, you know. Again, I'm kind of reminded of Event Horizon, the kind of strobe and lights and the kind of, there's something so hellish about it, and at the same time it's just science fiction. It's just kind of, but there we go. That was our unopenable door from earlier, and as I said, I'll find a few more of those, but it's a nice shortcut. At this stage, I still only have the same equipment. Oh, there is the timer. beside my health bars. And you can see again they're both red now, so we're in that kind of strange time I was telling you about earlier. And there's a big boss walking, or a big monster walking around here, with like a staff. And I think, yeah, I'm just avoiding him at all costs, but I thought he'd become a regular thing. I didn't know why he was here. I had no idea. I was just kind of, you know, this demon-y thing is going to kill me, and yeah, he does. And it's just a case of learning that why he's there. I mean, the next time I played the game, I think he kills me a couple of times this playthrough, but the next time I played the game I realised that he only appears during those hours, and also that there are a few other weapons lying around in the area, so quicker weapons like knives and things, make it possible to stagger enemies a lot quicker. So normally, again, I would play a kind of a mid-ranged kind of character in these types of games. I'd normally play someone who's got a bow, or somebody's got a staff weapon, or a long sword, or, you know, occasionally I'll pick a great sword, that kind of thing. But in this situation, I just kind of messed around with the ordinary weapons. I chose the wrong weaponry for this playthrough, and have learned since that it's a little bit different from a Souls game in where you should put your stats. You should mess around with your stats a little bit at the start, because, you know, weapons require different kind of things, different kind of speeds and things. And there's a stagger with dagger weapons and stabbing weapons, which kind of becomes very useful once you get fast enough to use them. So I expected enemies would have respawned here and I could grind them for a bit, and they do for a while. Then they're not always here. Those little bits and pieces I'm picking up from them are the equivalent of souls as well, so you're getting a couple of bankable souls, so you don't lose everything every time you die. And of course, if you get back to where you died, you can regain your souls and your abilities and your things like that. So you can regain your progress and level up. I got used to this enemy crawling up out of the floor, but it seems that on later playthroughs, instead of crawling up out of the floor, he's actually on the left side of the room and kind of ambushes you. And of course, there's a hidden path here behind me that I've missed as well. But I just keep on, and we're still in the hell hour, so that big guy is still down there waiting to kill me. And this is where I made my first silly mistake that I assumed was an actual thing. So I would just draw the enemies up here first. This is the pretty straightforward. And I think this is where it happens. But yes, I thought this was another player. So it looks like me, it's rolling, it's acting like a player, it's not acting like the rest of the enemies in the game. So it's rolling, it's dodging, it's using similar equipment to me. So I was convinced that this was another player. And normally in PvP I get killed pretty quick, so Ghost defeated. Now, it again took me absolutely ages to figure this out. I thought I was playing against another player. I wasn't. It's a ghost of myself. So the game is actually paying attention to how you're playing the game. And when you die in this game, not only do you have to collect your own items from the area, but you've also got to contend with your own character. So when you die, there's an added level of difficulty because the game has been watching how you've been playing the game, and mimics your own play style. So your equipment will be the same, and your moves will be the same, but what you're actually getting is a totally different thing altogether. You're getting a character that knows how you play the game, and there's a strange kind of psyche level to it, and in the other way, it kind of really plays into the space sci-fi horror theme of, you know, you are fighting your own ghosts, your own kind of demons on the station, and I kind of liked that. It seemed to work well for me. I enjoyed that as an aspect of the game. One of the things I noticed at this point in the game was, again, the multiplayer kind of functions and the online functions didn't seem to really work for me, and I tried around with them for a while. I saw a lot of handprints here with a lot of messages on them, but I couldn't make sense of them. And it seems that your messages are actually symbolic, because you're given symbols and symbology to actually write a message rather than words. So it's a lot of signs, X's and O's, and in kind of alien language, which again buys into the way the game plays for me, but it also, I'd prefer if it could leave an actual message. And one of the big problems I had on this playthrough, and still seems to be a problem with the game, is the frame rates. I don't know if you can notice it very much in the video here, but the frame rate drops quite a bit. I believe this doesn't happen obviously for PC players, and of course I could have got the game on PC, but I was just in the mood for something on my PlayStation, and you know, something in between Ghost of Tsushima, and I figured I'd give this a go. But yeah, the frame rate drop, and again, this is on the PlayStation 4 Pro as well. I normally don't mind too much about frame rate. It's not usually a big deal for me. For a Souls-like game, it kind of matters, especially if you are doing the PvP. But yeah, the frame rate drops were a little bit irritating and made the game a bit artificially challenging. So the giant lad is still down there, and at this stage I still haven't realised that the other character isn't another player and that it's a ghost of myself. So I'm baffled at this stage. I'm kind of like, why am I only getting invaded right here, and how am I getting invaded so quickly, and why am I getting no notification that I'm being invaded? And I actually thought there was something wrong with the game, that I wasn't getting an invasion notification, but it's not an invasion, it's just me against me. I don't think I come running up out of nowhere in this part, but now it sounds like I'm dealing extra damage with the back attack there, but I'm not. I'd completely missed that guy in the cage over there as well, but to be fair, he doesn't say anything useful at this stage. I figure he's one of the weird old NPCs that you'll experience in these sort of games. So there's that. He gives you some sort of waffle that you can't get into him, or he's claimed this place for himself or something like that. I'm sure he'll matter eventually, but so at this stage I'm still not sure. I'm still learning. There I am. That's me. That's me attacking myself, and I don't realise it. Again, I still think that this is another player. He is literally just copying the stuff that I do, so you know, he shouldn't be a problem for me because I'm pretty bad at this stage, but he is. And again, I'm thinking, well, the other enemies aren't attacking him. It's got to be. I'm thinking I've done good here because I have him trapped in here, and you know, aha, he can't stop me. And I'm imagining some other player all irritated that he just kind of got killed by a cheap shot. He nearly had me dead, and he hasn't. I just killed him at the last second. But no, it's just myself. I'm literally just fighting myself there. I'm gonna say, okay, so here we go again. At this stage, is there much point in me even trying to fight the boss? And I've refused to spend any of my levels or any of my I've refused to spend any of my souls on upgrades or anything at this stage. And of course, I once again, I'm like, you know, maybe I can try the multiplayer because I seem to be getting invaded a lot, so I'll try the multiplayer options, but again, they still don't work. And I can tell you, in a Souls game or Bloodborne or anything like that, I'm definitely less timid. I don't know whether it was just the setting or the gameplay or the what, but I got that whole I don't think I can do this kind of feel around the gate, which is strange for me. Normally these games are pretty straightforward. I'd platinumed Bloodborne and Demon Souls and stuff pretty easily, and kind of enjoyed those games, and you know, a lot braver, a lot faster. But I don't know, just I think part of it was I was curious to see if anybody else had picked up Hellpoint on PlayStation 4 at this stage, and to see what the matchmaking was like, because the game had just been released. And yeah, it was slightly disappointing. My discovery here that I've just found a knife weapon. Again, it's not a very good weapon. There's a better knife available in the area, which I'll find in a while and be delighted with. Yeah. So, yeah, so I tried out the knife for a little bit. Obviously, it's a much faster weapon. I kind of prefer the pipe still at this stage. There's a ceremonial dagger you can pick up during the early parts of this level as well. Again, I was unaware of it for quite some time, but when I found it, again, I kind of ignored it as a weapon that I could use. But on subsequent playthroughs, it seems to be the way to go at the early stage of the game, because you can equip it up a lot earlier and become proficient with it a lot quicker, so that you've got that stagger ability that I mentioned earlier. So here we go again against the first boss, the Acheron Slaver, and yeah, I still haven't figured out that this guy is freezing me, which isn't like me. I should have copped on a lot sooner what that bar meant that was happening, but nope. So slaughtered once again by the slaver. And of course, back to the embassy. So if you happen to be still watching here now, what would we have? Yeah, multiple runs of this whole starting area basically. Again, with the various handprints on the wall that make no sense, because again, I think that the message is missing from here, but it's not. It's the same as before. Strange hieroglyphics and things are showing up. And of course, yeah, I still haven't figured out. Here we are. I've started to figure out. I started to figure out that the floor here was having some sort of effect on that bar that was appearing, and you can even see up underneath my health bar, underneath my stamina bar there, that there's an indicator of some sort of status condition that I wasn't aware of. So the penny starts to drop here. That there's something to do with different kind of heat and different the environment. So I've started to realize, okay, this might be a thing. This is important. There's some reason for this. And as I said, I've for this, of course, I've avoided even looking at any guides while I was doing this. So yeah, I decided to just play. This is a blind playthrough, so I'm kind of figuring out little bits and pieces here. Eventually, of course, I'm going to look up some things just to be sure that my suspicions are correct, or I can or can't do a certain thing. As you can see now, the clock as well has disappeared. It's no longer lit up. So again, I haven't quite figured it out, but the enemy that was killing me earlier will no longer be appearing, and I'll be just kind of like, okay, it's not there now. Also, oddly enough, some of the enemies seem to take more or less hits depending on the playthrough. Like with the pipe there, you saw he took a fair few whacks before he went down. But previously it was only 2 or 3, so I'm not sure if there was an inconsistency with the damage you're dealing, but it seemed that some of the enemies seemed a little tougher. So we've no giant enemy waiting for me down there this time, but of course I'm cautious, so I'm expecting them. And yeah, we don't have a falling attack either, so I expected to plop down and be able to do a stab or a heavy attack, but we don't have that. And again, I'll learn later on while I'm playing the game, but it doesn't seem like we can two-hand a weapon either. It seems like we're stuck with single-handed weapons. I'm getting much more used to the fodder though, at this stage. Oh, and here's the chap that makes no sense. The usual. Actually, at that stage, I thought that he had something to do with that random enemy that was appearing here too. I really should have known that it was to do with the clock, but it didn't make sense to me. So the sign of madness, the thing is I'm still doing the same things over and over, and yet I'm actually missing out on so much in the area. It's the same area, but this chap with the lasers, and I didn't recognize, but that white column there behind me is like a ladder that will let me access another area around here that I wasn't expecting to find. I do love the kind of bloodstains on the metal floor and all. It's it's got that horror kind of thing going on. There's a few things there that they seem inaccessible, but again, it's just because I've missed a ladder and it's pretty obvious afterwards. And now listening back to that attack now, it does sound like I'm doing more damage from behind, but there's no animation or freeze frame for it, and I know that weapons actually have a proficiency, which again I didn't know at the time of playing this the first time, but the more you use a weapon, the more proficient you become with it, and you actually unlock weapon skills. So There is a backstab skill for a dagger, which involves setting up a hotkey to, I think it's triangle on the PlayStation control, and you can actually activate a backstab, which uses up your MP gauge there, or whatever you want to call it, your energy gauge. And I didn't know that at this stage either, so I'm not sure if the special attack is separate from an ordinary, attack from behind on an enemy or not. So I'll have to look into this to see if I actually am doing more damage with an ordinary attack from behind. At this stage, I still haven't figured out that the bloke walking around there isn't another player. So I'm darting towards the fog gate and thinking if I go through the fog gate, he'll be sent back to wherever he came from. Again, no indication, no messages. I'm checking to see if I can connect with anybody online, and I'm thinking maybe I'm being prevented from doing that because I'm being invaded. And I'm not. It's just a mirror image of myself. It's ghost data. And for some reason, in a Souls-like game, I've never had this much trouble with a first boss. I mean, the first boss of Dark Souls 3, I think I killed him immediately without even dying the first time. I suppose, yeah. I think I had a little bit of trouble with the Phalanx boss in Demon Souls because it was the first time I encountered one of those, and it took me a while to realise that fire would kill that pretty quickly. In this one, I think I don't know, for whatever reason I just didn't realise that I was being slowed down by ice. I didn't realise that the boss was actually causing that. I think I think on this run now I experimented a little bit more with weapons and upgrading my stats. Again, I was being very stubborn with this. I didn't want to put any points into my stats before defeating the first boss, because I've played level 1 Souls games and no armor runs and the usual. And I suppose with this, I just wanted to kind of try and do the same for my first outing on Hellpoint. But looking back on it now, I probably shouldn't have been so stubborn. This guy seems to take more hits each time, and I don't understand why. Whereas that guy is just one and done. I was a little bit off-put that I didn't get further a little bit quicker in the game, because I have a feeling that other areas of this space station kind of probably look a bit cooler. At this stage, the kind of grim, rusty, kind of dark look of the station was starting to bore me a little bit. And I didn't realise either there is an area outside of the space station, so you can go on a bit of a spacewalk in the early areas of the game. And there's also a cool set of armour somewhere around here that I'm completely unaware of during this playthrough. But the armour that you get kind of looks like a cross between Doom Guy's armour and something from Dead Space. And I suppose, actually, I didn't think of that now until recording this, but Dead Space definitely feels like an influence here as well. There's a kind of gruesome sci-fi horror going on here, and I suppose I can see the HR Geiger kind of feel. And I suppose you've got the weird kind of space religion, space cult kind of feeling. So there's the, I suppose, the unitology kind of mythos here that I hadn't considered. Now that I think about it, I do love these bright pillars and these shaded areas, and again, it's the use of this lighting again kind of reminds me of, as I said earlier, Event Horizon. And looking back on this now, I think I might actually watch Event Horizon this evening again. Just, it's been a while since I've watched it, and yeah, I do. I'm just kind of thinking right now of Sam Neill just kind of telling me where we're going. We're not going to need eyes. And yeah, I mean, the game is a little bit the opposite, because you definitely need eyes for this. I try to tell myself the little frame rate issues and the little bit of lag is because the space station is so close to the black hole singularity, but you know, and time dilates around the black hole, so I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that there'd be horrible lag occasionally in a game, you know, set right next to a black hole, but not so much. It's actually quite irritating still. So what was this? My fourth or fifth time up this lift. And the big knight characters have ranged attacks I wasn't expecting as well. It's kind of... Also, as well, I was kind of kicking myself because going up that lift so often, I didn't realise that just down the corridor past the knights, there's a shortcut back to the bonfire area. Which could have made these runs a little quicker. Another thing I didn't realise actually while playing is be on the lookout for hidden walls. And the hidden walls are back in the style of the Demon Souls games, insofar as you have to kind of attack a hidden wall for it to appear. So an action button against it won't do anything. I think by this stage I've realised... Yeah, I think I know now that this is just me I'm fighting. And it's a nice touch. It's nice that you get to experience a bit of a fight with yourself each time, but it can be quite annoying as well when you're trying to reach an area, get your souls back or your skill points back. That shield bash that I've just been told about there as well doesn't seem to work or do anything either. And up there, just along here, is the way back to where I started, to where the bonfire is, and I didn't realise. Of course, I could open it there and save myself a lot of time, but no, I'm again stubborn and silly, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to waste some more time just kind of running around here and you know, not doing what I kind of should do. course, I should have came in here a lot sooner too. That's another thing. The destructible environments don't seem to be here. I mean, if this was more of a Dark Souls game, those benches would be breakable and you'd have breakable scenery, but there doesn't seem to be anything like that in this game. There doesn't seem to be breakable scenery or assets. I love this this chamber. You'll find random tombs and creepy little places like this. Creepy little stories, and it's unsettling, and I like it. Of course, there's the ceremonial dagger. And I'm not proficient with it, so it's going to show up in my inventory all red, which of course is going to lead me to decide maybe I should try and upgrade some of my points at this stage. I didn't realise as well, even though I'm not proficient in the weapon, you can still equip it and you can still use it. It just doesn't do as much damage as it would do if you had the right stats for it. And as you can see there, it's clearly going for a dex build. But again, the game doesn't seem to put that much emphasis on particular builds. Again, another mistake I made at the start of the game. I figured I'd go for a strength build when I do decide to actually start powering up my character. And yeah, I don't need to do that. You don't need to do that in the early parts of this game. Stats seem to be a bit more versatile, and it seems that you should break the Dark Souls rule with this game, and that is, you should actually be versatile with your stats and spread them evenly, at least in the early stages of the game. I mean, Dark Souls, you're literally going, you know, for soft caps in strength, or or hard caps in strength, or a dex build, as you say. Hellpoint's a little different. I'm not sure if that was a glitch as well. Strange kind of character going straight up into the sky, but and I'm not quite sure what that little robot does either. It seems to be floating about scanning me. I don't know if it's bringing more enemies in or if it can do me any damage. I didn't come across any damage from it, so I'm not sure what you're supposed to do about them. I also found it a little bit confusing, the max load that you can wear in armor and equipment. It seems to change depending on what armor you're putting on. Insofar as it seems that some armor seems to give you an actual bonus to being able to hold weight, kind of like Havel's Ring in Dark Souls, except it's not clear which armor is actually doing it. I think I found a pair of gloves that seemed to reduce my max overall weight, that while I was wearing them, my max load had been reduced in a positive way. But when I took the gloves off, my max load increased, so I think that there's stats attached to them that I wasn't expecting. But yeah. So this was my first hour with Hellpoint on PlayStation 4, and I'm not quite sure what to make of the game. I did enjoy it, and as a Souls-like game, it could do with a little bit of polish. Namely, I would like to be able to parry some enemies, and I would like an improvement on the frame rate, to be fair. If you've enjoyed watching, feel free to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. So till next time, catch you later.